the biggest, most amazing MMO coming out very soon. Any feature you want, it's got it, right? Let's do the
got it all.
rundown. The biggest world ever made in an MMO, right? Dungeons, raids, crafting, a caravan system, transporting goods, farming, animal husbandry, gathering, ocean battles, shipbuilding, exploration, open world housing and base building, and get this, the thing we always want in an MMO, time travel.
Yes, even time travel. Great
Good job.
Scott!
Quin Fall.
Right.
I mean, oh my goodness.
What's that old adage? If something if something sounds too good to be true, what
No,
is
just
it?
wait. It's
It might
sounding
have
great
been-
so far.
It might have been
Great
bought
so
on the
far.
Unity store. I think that's how the end of that phrase goes. Yes.
But to be honest, Coltrane, was Quin Fall on your radar until recently? I know they did a trailer like about a year ago, maybe, that looked pretty decent. I
Right.
was like, oh, this seems kind of cool. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was kind of looking at Ashes and some of these other games.
Sure.
As more of the these features started coming out that they were talking about, I was like, oh, I like all these things. Like, I could get into this game. Was it on your radar until recently, or
Yeah, and the thing about it is, and this is what I love, and this is what I love. The place that we're at right now with Quin Fall is all because of the developers of A Day Before. It's the whole reason we're here. Because A Day Before was a scam type game, right? At least allegedly. It got so popular, everyone was excited, everyone was jazzed about it, and it became mainstream. This idea of assets being purchased now is mainstream. This was kind of like an unknown thing. Like, some people knew about it, but no one really knew that, like, wait a minute, they bought the city that it was developed. Like, no one really knew that there's these assets that are available. Villages, Viking, docks and harbors, weapons, armor. And it became mainstream. So it's because of A Day Before. This kind of stuff has been going on for years. We, the public, have never really been made aware of it that much. And I think it all has to do with A Day Before. The fact that there's these videos being made now showing, okay, here's the screenshot in the video, and here's the exact asset. They didn't change a thing. All they did was change the color, but it's identical. But what do you think, Scotty? What was your opinion about Quin Fall?
Upon a first viewing, what's not to like, right? It's hitting all those boxes. But man, like, this shit starts coming out, and it's just like, is this going to be the new norm? That's what I'm starting to think. Like, is this what we're just going to start seeing? AI generated stuff, assets borrowed, fake business sign, like.
That's
like,
intense.
is this what the hive mind, the mentality is just become of, give us so much stuff right now, everyone's just making stuff to make a quick buck, and then they get out. And these are how scams start. They try to make a quick buck. There's no substance. It's just it's a numbers game. It's like a cold calling version of MMOs. And that's what I'm worried about is this the new thing that we're going to have to deal with going forward? So yeah, on the surface, looks great. But now it's like, of course it was too good to be true. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that initial trailer, like I said, about a year ago, and I mean, it looked great, but to your point, Day Before trailer looked amazing. You know what I mean? Like, a lot can be done, and I didn't really think much about it at the time. I was just like, oh, it looks like it has some action combat. They're fighting some monsters. This looks cool. The combat looks fluid. Like, and in my mind, a PvPer, that's the first thing I look at is the combat. Is the combat solid? And I was like, you know what? It looks pretty solid. And then, like I said, they started talking about all these features throughout the year. And I'm like, this game is amazing. But it did kind of tick the first red flag in my mind because, to be honest, I looked at all these features and I was like, whoa, this looks really similar to Ashes of Creation, which has been in development for like 6+ years.
Right.
And this game says they're going to have their first closed beta on January 30th. And I was like, 1 year of time? Like, this seems, like you said, it's got too good to be true, right? And so that was the first thing that kind of I was like, I don't know. And then I heard, oh, they're using AI to use some of the stuff. And so then I was really intrigued. I was like, can AI really speed the development time up that much? You know? And so I was looking forward to the January 30th update. And then a couple of videos started coming out about, hey, this might not be
Yes.
what it looks to be or what it appears to
Yes.
be on the surface, right?
And can
And
we
they
can we
they
get a quick round of applause for these internet sleuths that just find this kind of stuff? Like they're
for
doing us.
sure.
These are the unsung heroes that are
God's
finding these
work.
little small. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yes. And the videos even built so like the first one I watched was just more like, hey, I'm kind of skeptical. These are a lot of the reasons why it was like, hey, this business, the business storefront looks like a stock photo with the name of their company on it. Their address is to a Turkish university for their game company. And, even at that point, I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. It's an ambitious group of students or, people have humble beginnings. It's like, okay, they just want to make a good game. They're introducing AI. This is a cool experiment. So I go to the website to sign up for the beta. I'm like, wow, this is cool. Like, oh, we want your first and last name, your phone number, your address. I was like, I thought
Mm.
my social security number was going to be next. Like, this is
Right.
like more information than I've ever been asked on a
Things like that.
beta. And I was like,
Yes.
that maybe more than anything. I'm a little paranoid sometimes with that kind of stuff and internet security. So I was
Sure.
just like, this is a little over the top. Okay. And then the next video that came out was the big one, right? They kind of matched up all the trailers to store bought assets. When in itself, you might not think that's not that big of a deal. But then they started talking about the trailer again, and the trailers were really just one character fighting one mob. Like
Yeah.
there was no other people in the trailers. There were
Yeah.
not like this could be replicated by anyone. Like any individual could make this kind of stuff. And so that's when the real suspicion started for me.
The assets themselves aren't inherently bad. I mean, this is how games run. People make
Mm.
engines and games use the engines. Like, this is how it functions. But when you just take the asset and copy paste it and just
Right.
simplify it in a way that is basically like just a propaganda ad for something that's
Yes.
not really existing, that's
Yes.
problematic. So, like,
Yes.
it's a misuse of intellectual property, essentially.
Exactly right. And like you had said, Tom, too, that he's only fighting one mob. This is
Yeah.
something that's been
Right.
in other trailers, but people are noticing now. Wait a
There
minute. He's
was a
only
raid
fighting.
boss, but it was like
It
Yes.
was
like
so
this static
static.
little robot.
Yeah.
It was just quick enough to be like, "Hey, look, there's a lot of players. Back to the single mob." Like,
Totally.
yeah,
But
it's a
now
it's a
going
total red
in,
herring almost. Yeah, it's weird.
it is. But we're going in with caution now. The general public is a
Yeah,
little skeptical now, which is fantastic because
sure.
they're starting to see, wait a minute, is this actually a money grab or is this a real game? Everyone is looking at these titles like Quin Fall with a bit of skepticism. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Going
Yeah.
forward. So I
Yeah,
personally am thankful to the day before devs. I'm thankful that it became so popular and everyone like yourself, Scott, was so excited. Everyone was so pumped and they
yeah,
realized what it really was. And now we have that same skepticism going forward. So
yeah.
I think the good news out of all this, games are going to be better. That people are not going to just like, throw money at something. There's going to be some skepticism. Like I understand
Yeah.
if you're going to use assets, but you don't just use 100% of the asset and then
Right.
just shift the color around. You know what I mean? So people
Yeah.
are
Sure.
analyzing this.
And they even came out. And so the studio, actually, Varrec Games, came out with a response and they're like, look, we're doing this new approach. We're using AI to develop this game. So, yes, we're going to use a lot of store bought assets to speed the process up and to do this new thing. And, maybe we'll change some later. At this point, I could be like, okay, you're just using some assets. You're going to use it to do this new AI thing.
Mhm.
Maybe I can give it a pass and see how the experiment goes. Then the last
Hmm.
big thing that was the nail in the coffin, I was like, this
Criticism.
thing's it's a done deal.
Hmm.
Apparently, they have a relationship with an RMT website, sponsors the company, has had sponsored ads in their old game. Okay. They sponsor content creators, the game, and the real money trading company, the RMT company. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, there's nothing that can be said. If you're in bed with an RMT company, it's all about money, right?
Yeah,
There's
this
no
is
going
scorched
back.
earth. This is scorched
It
earth at this
is.
point.
It
Yeah.
is. And all this to say, I don't know. I'm just super sad. Why can't, I mean, they make it seem so good, all the things we want, but I guess that's how a scam works, right?
But we now see it. We now recognize it, and we're stopping it in its tracks.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's more mainstream now than I think that it has been in years past. You know what I mean? At least that's
I don't
my
know,
hope.
man. I think you're vastly underestimating the gullibility of people.
Sure. No, you're not
Yeah.
wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
No,
You're right.
It brings up some interesting stuff. So obviously, I mean, I reserve the right for them to prove me wrong. I don't see it happening, but it just it does bring up some interesting questions that we'll talk about in some videos down the road about AI and MMOs, which is still a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
Like you said, about consumers being smarter about these scams. And is this scam thing like an MMO specific thing? The way that we have early accesses now and all these different betas. Is this a way to just fleece more money, you know, from MMO players? I don't know. It's
we'll see, man.
Quin Fall beta January 30th. Let us know how it goes.
Go fight your one mob and then log off. I mean,
it's a big scorpion. That's a big
that is
scorpion.
a big ass scorpion. Yep.
It is.